What's going on, you guys? This is your boy Dominic, aka the Dark Horse Rider from the Dirty South, coming live and direct from the West Coast. This gets straight into the topic. Now, I've done other videos talking about the I guess this apparent gender war that's still continuing, and I wanted to do another video talking about that. Still just a continuation. My mom, told me something interesting a while back. She said, Dominic, I want to apologize for a lot of the things that I did when I was younger. I made mistakes when I was younger. I said things that I shouldn't have said. And, I forgave her. I love my mom. I think my mom is one of the greatest women on the face of this planet. Very resilient. Her character, her values, a sweet lady, man. Just a great lady, great woman. However, when I was younger, my mom, at times had some issues. And I'll be honest and open and say, and I've shared this with my mom. When I was younger, I used to say, like, man, I don't know if I can marry a woman like my mom. And, for a boy, the first, I guess, the inclination of what you think you should date typically is your mom, especially if you're close to your mom. I'm not saying being incestuous, but what I am saying is you say to yourself when you're younger, man, when I get married, I'm used to my mom treating me this way, so I would like a woman to treat me the same way. I was used to my mother cooking for me. I was used to my mom telling me stories. I was used to my mom being nurturing, was what I'm trying to say. And so that, in essence, formed this template for what I was looking for in a woman. And if a woman didn't do those things, or I would be like, man, I don't want to even waste my time with this woman. Also, when I was younger, it was a bit of confusion because my mom could be a little, how can I say it without sounding like I'm bashing my mom? My mom had a little drama, and a lot of it is because she was hurt, like a lot of black women in that era, in that generation, they made poor choices in men, and many times those women took that vitriol out on their children, and I was, no exception. Now, I could have done one or two things. I could have took how my mom treated me at certain instances and been like, you know what, I'm done with black women. And I'll be straight up honest with you guys. So let me say it with the right hand. That was a short period where I actually said, man, I don't want to have nothing to do with black women. Matter of fact, one of my mentors, who's an image consultant here in Hollywood, told me, he's like, man, if you see me dealing with a black woman, I'm holding her for the cops. That was just his take on black women. Like, he does not deal with black women at all. Now, I could have went that route. And at one point, because of my own unforgiveness, because of my own bitterness, because of the choices that I made with black women and the women that I selected, just a lot of different things, I had said to myself, I don't want to have anything to do with black women, because I was constantly in situations where I was being hurt by black women. I was in situations where I remember when I was younger that I was the guy that was being ignored, quote unquote, by black women. I was in situations where I was always getting put in a friend zone by black women. It would be like a lot of these women who would be like, oh, I'm looking for a good man, and they would friend zone me, and then I would look at the other guy they got with. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I know I'm not being too nice. I know I'm not blah, blah, blah. But yet she's friend zoning me and get what is it. So this happened over and over. And then I would deal with women of other races, and they're like, oh, you're so handsome. I want to. So I started to develop this pathology, if you will, of why am I sitting up here wasting my time with quote unquote black women when obviously black women don't like me. Okay. However, what I did not understand was that the root of that cause was my own unforgiveness towards my mother, towards a lot of different things that she did, in essence, that weren't right, but she was young. And I think ultimately that caused me to make the decisions that I made in the women that I selected. See, I'm bringing this up in this video because a lot of times it's easy for men to talk about how black women are so evil and black women are bad and black women are, you know, just doing a lot of incredulous type of things. But a lot of times these men and these people don't address the fact that they themselves typically choose ratchet women. They themselves choose women that in many cases aren't any good. In many cases, their character suggests that they shouldn't be with him. When you opt out, like for example, guys will say stuff like, well, you know, I know she's not any good, but I'll still lay down with her. In essence, you're being no different than the dog that you're criticizing her for being with. But I digress. So, going back to it, I understood that the reason I ultimately I was encountering a lot of ain't-ish women was because I had an unconscious issue with my mother that I didn't address. Because a lot of times, especially in the black community, unfortunately, it is a matriarchal culture as opposed to patriarchal. We hold our mothers in such high regard. And the truth is, in many instances, many of our moms were whores in the past. They were hoes, straight up and down. They made a lot of decisions that they shouldn't have made, said a lot of things that they shouldn't have done. But unconsciously, what we do, and maybe even consciously, we'll try to put those memories of that stuff in the back of our head as opposed to dealing with those issues, because it makes us feel better to continue to look at our mothers as these godlike figures, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm going to still look at her from a position of respect. I'm going to still honor my mother. However, in order for me to move forward, I need to be honest about how this person treated me. And so what helped me was later on in years, me and my mom, we sat down and we had a in-depth conversation, and I didn't even realize that those issues were there until we talked about them, and she came to me and she said, you know what, baby, I'm so sorry. I did the best that I could. And she shared her heart. My mom was accountable she shared her accountability for what she had done wrong. And you know what it may be? I'm not gonna lie. You know, I cried about it, straight up and down, because my mom was sharing her heart and sharing. And I guess what I'm saying, folks, is sometimes you have to look at the motive behind why people do the things they do. Now, does it mean you're excusing what they do? No, but if the motive behind what they are doing is love, then I can deal with the rest of the stuff. If the motive behind what they did was right, if I can perceive, if you will, their heart was in the right place. So it was through that conversation, and it was through me being a man and me asserting myself and going to my mother and having that hard conversation that healing and restoration was able to take place. See, the problem is this right here. And many of you guys aren't Christians, but I truly believe this right here. The Bible talks about if you have an ought against your brother, that you are supposed to go to them. The issue is many people aren't confrontational when that very book that many of you looking at me believe in is a book that supports, if you will, that advocates being confrontational. And not confrontational in the sense of being a butthole or being aggressive, but confrontational in the sense of saying that if you have an issue with someone, you need to be able to go to them one-on-one first as an adult and talking those things out. Then it says that if you go one-on-one and talk those things out and that person is not willing to listen to you, then you go to step 2. See, it's steps to this whole thing. So what I did was I said, you know what? I'm having all these issues with these quote-unquote black women, like a lot of you brothers say and a lot of you women say on the other side of the coin. The common denominator in this whole thing is me. So I need to get to the root of why I'm having these issues. And so for me, I figured the root had to be some type of rejection issue that I had with my mother. So I went and I talked to my mother and I realized that's what it was. She apologized. We dealt with things. I'm closer to my mom now than I was when I was younger. I'm just being honest with you guys. I love my mother. However, that only came because I was willing to confront the issue one-on-one. Now, some of you may have mothers who or maybe not like mine. They won't never come to a point where they can accept accountability and responsibility. Some of you guys may have situations where you can still honor and respect your mother, but you have to deal with them with a long handled spoon because they don't want to accept it. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I got to see why I had the issues that I had with women, particularly black women, stem from an unconscious issue that I had with my mom that made me, if you will, deal with a certain segment of women who I should not have dealt with in the first place. See, here's the reality, man. God has created a vast earth, which there is no shortage of anything good in this earth. So when people start this nonsense about all the black women aren't no good and all the, I'm so hurt right now. All these niggas ain't no good. They ain't ish. Let me go get a white man. Here's the reality. There's no shortage of anything good in this earth. You create the shortage by your own actions. You create the shortage by your own perspective. You create the shortage by the words that you allow to come out of your mouth. I know there are good black women out here. I know there is a beautiful black woman out here. For me, if I choose whatever, it's a beautiful woman out there, period. If I marry a black woman, whatever, and I want to marry a black woman, my point is I put that out there in the atmosphere. And I speak that because words are spirit and they engender life. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to see. Man, stop all this nonsense. Stop meditating on this negativity and talking about women ain't no good and the niggas ain't ish and all this. See, when you do all that stuff, you're creating that reality for yourself. Man, I've met so many great black women out here. Beautiful black women who about their business, who want to have a man, who ain't on this, I'm a strong black, they just show it through their character. I've met plenty of black women like that are dimes, that are beautiful, who want to have a man and want to be a wife. I've met a lot. So when people say this, I'm inclined to say, wait a minute. If this person is always beating buttholes, then I can almost guarantee that subconsciously they have an issue with their mother or their father. And they have an issue that they haven't quite addressed, that they have not quite healed from. And that issue is causing them to lash out on a whole segment of people. Man, the reality is, man, we come across good people every day. However, it's up to us whether or not we want to explore those situations. Some of these women, I did a video, one of my first video back, it was talking about how a lot of black women are attracted to pain. The reality is, there's a lot of good brothers out here that aren't bums, but a lot of you women don't like those type of men because you maybe was molested as a child, maybe you were hurt. So your template for what you think a quote unquote good man is a man who causes you pain. And if that man does not cause you to feel pain, you dismiss him. Oh, he's not any good. I don't want to talk to him. He's too nice. He's too corny. Blah, 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 blah. Does that sound familiar? So all I'm saying at the end of the day, words are powerful. Watch what you say, watch what you do. And for many of you guys, the solution is to start at the root of the problem. And for many of you guys, it is rejection. And also because of that, you need to do what I did. Talk to that parent. If your parent is passed away or something, just deal with it. Go in your room and just talk it out, pray it out, do those type of things. And just say, you know what? I forgive that person. I release that person. And once you release it, engage yourself into activities that are wholesome. Don't be sitting around here looking at all these videos that's down in the black woman or down in the black man and, not creating a situation of wholeness and restoration, because that's just putting salt in the wound and making you in the wound and making you more bitter and angry and stuff. So that's just my take. That's all it is to it. This is your boy, the Dark Rider from the Dirty South, coming live and direct from the West Coast. Peace.